Alright, Shalom. First and foremost, I'm going to start this lesson off by giving all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakakudash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Honors to all the brothers who are still fervently pushing the word in sincerity and in faith, and Shalom to all the sincere believers. Now, this lesson is going to be based on the Alaska storm and the damage that was caused. So through the Spirit, I'm going to read this article, get some precepts, and Lord's will you edify. It says Alaska storm damage so bad, many evacuees won't go home for at least 18 months, governor said. Said damage to remote Alaska villages hammered by flooding last weekend is so extreme that many of the more than 2,000 people displaced won't be able to return to their homes for at least 18 months, Governor Mike Dunleavy said in a request to the White House for a major disaster declaration. In one of the hardest hit villages, Kipnuk, an initial assessment showed that 121 homes, or 90% of the total, have been destroyed, Dunleavy wrote. Where 3 dozen homes floated away, slightly more than 1/3 of the residents are uninhabitable. The remnants of Typhoon Halong struck the area with the ferocity of a Category 2 hurricane, Dunleavy said, sending a surge of high surf into the low-lying region. 1 person was killed, 2 remain missing, and rescue crews plucked dozens of people from their homes as they floated away. Officials have been scrambling to airlift people from the inundated Alaska Native villages. More than 2,000 people across the region have taken shelter in schools, in their villages, in larger communities in southwest Alaska, or have been evacuated by military planes to Anchorage, the state's largest city. Anchorage leaders said Friday they expect as many as 1,600 evacuees to arrive. So far, about 575 have been airlifted to the city by the Alaska National Guard and have been staying at a sports arena or a convention center. Additional flights were expected Friday and Saturday. Officials are working on figuring out how to move people out of shelters and into short-term accommodations such as hotels and then longer-term housing. So due to the time, space, distance, geography, and weather in the affected areas, it is likely that many survivors will be unable to return to their communities this winter, Dunleavy said. Agencies are prioritizing rapid repairs, but it is likely that some damaged communities will not be viable to support winter occupancy in America's hardest climate in the U.S. Arctic. The federal government already has been assisting with search and rescue, damage assessments, environmental response, and evacuation support. A major disaster declaration by President Donald Trump could provide federal assistance programs for individuals and public infrastructure, including money for emergency and permanent work. The 3 members of Alaska's congressional declaration on Friday sent a letter to Trump urging swift approval. The storm surge pummeled a sparsely populated region off the state's main road system where communities are reachable only by air or water this time of year. The villages typically have just a few hundred residents who hunt and fish for much of their food, and relocating to the state's major cities will bring a vastly different lifestyle. Alexi Stone of Kipnuk arrived in Anchorage in a military jet with his brothers, children, and mom after his home was struck by the flooding. They've been staying at the Alaska Airlines Center at the University of Alaska, where the Red Cross provided evacuees with cots, blankets, and hygiene supplies. At least for the foreseeable future, he thinks he might try to find a job at a grocery store. He used to work in one in Bethel. Said it's going to be try to look for a place and find a job, Stone said Friday. We're starting a new life here in Anchorage. Anchorage officials and business leaders said Friday they were eager to help the evacuees. Said our neighbors in western Alaska have experienced tremendous loss, devastation, and grief, Mayor Suzanne LaFrance said at a meeting of the Anchorage Assembly. Said we will do everything we can here in Anchorage to welcome our neighbors and help them through these difficult times. The state representative of Tuxuk Bay on an island northwest of Kipnuk described for the assembly how she rode out the storm's 100-mile-per-hour winds with her daughter and niece. So we had no choice but to sit in our home and wait to see if our house is going to come off the foundation or if debris is going to bust open our windows, she said. It didn't, but others weren't as fortunate. She thanked Anchorage for welcoming the evacuees. Says, you are showing my people, my relatives, my constituents, even if they are far from home, this is still Alaska land and they're amongst family. Psalms 9 and 16. The Lord Yahweh is known by the judgment which he executeth. The wicked is snared in the work of his own hands, Higgaion Selah. And that's what happened. The Lord brought a heavy judgment upon that part of Alaska. 121 homes destroyed, 1 person killed, 2 people missing, so many people displaced, having to move far away from their original home, having to start all over again. It is sad and it is scary, but at the end of the day, that is the wrath of the Lord. And the men of the Lord, starting of course with the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, have been saying that things like this were going to happen, and far worse are going to happen as well. Isaiah 29 and 6, thou shalt be visited of the Lord Yahweh of hosts with thunder, and with earthquake, and great noise, with storm, and tempest, and the flame of devouring fire. And that's exactly what the Lord visited that part of Alaska with, storm and tempest, and particularly the wrath of a Category 2 hurricane, 100+ mile an hour winds. Isaiah 28 and 2, behold, the Lord hath a mighty and strong one, which has a tempest of hail and a destroying storm, as a flood of mighty waters overflowing shall cast down to the earth with the hand. And that's what I believe it was western Alaska got hit with. Destroying storm and lots of flooding. Bunch of homes destroyed. Lots of flooding. People's entire livelihood just wiped out. And this is yet another example of the Lord's power and how he can wipe out entire neighborhoods and communities with just one storm. See, the Lord is constantly showing his power, and yet people still refuse to acknowledge him, and people still refuse to fear him. And that's why the Lord is just going to put more and more people to death. Psalms 11:6. Upon the wicked he shall rain snares, fire and brimstone, and an horrible tempest. This shall be the portion of their cup. And when you look up the definition of tempest, it means a violent windy storm, such as hurricanes or tornadoes. And those people out there got hit with what they said was similar to a Category 2 hurricane, which is a horrible tempest. And that's why, the men of the Lord keep saying that there is no getting around these scriptures. The judgments written in these scriptures that are going to come to pass in these last days are coming to pass. The fires, the earthquakes, the storms and tempests. These are just some of those judgments. Psalms 83:14, as the fire burneth a wood, and as the flame setteth the mountains on fire. Verse 15, so persecute them with thy tempest, and make them afraid with thy storm. And that's what the Lord is doing. Dishing out the torrential rains, the lightning, the hail, the tornadoes, the hurricanes. He's persecuting these wicked countries, these wicked cities, these wicked towns, these wicked neighborhoods with his tempest, and he's making these wicked people afraid with his storms. Isaiah 48:22, there is no peace, saith the Lord Yahweh, unto the wicked. And that's right, because the Lord is just going to keep piling on the judgments. He's going to continue to unleash his spirits of vengeance upon these wicked people to bring judgment upon them. He's going to continue to send many great miseries upon these people. Like it says in Psalm 7:11, Yahweh judgeth the righteous, and Yahweh is angry with the wicked every day. So every day, the Lord is going to judge these wicked people because they're constantly provoking him unto wrath. And now they have to reap what they have sown. Hebrews 10:31, it is a fearful thing to fall into the hands of the living power. And that's right. It is a scary, terrifying thing to fall into the hands of the Lord. And that's what those people out there in Western Alaska just experienced. And there are people in other parts of the world that have experienced the same and will experience worse. Second Timothy 3:1, this know also that in the last days perilous times shall come. And when you look up the definition of perilous, it means full of danger or risk. And we are in some times full of danger. Some very dangerous times with the volcanoes erupting, the constant earthquakes, the constant fires, the constant storms and tempests, the constant protests, the love of many waxing cold, the violence increasing, and so much more. We are definitely in some dangerous times, and that's why those of us of the hopeful elect have to stay prayed, because the Lord is the one dishing out these judgments, and he's the only one that can keep us safe from these judgments. Luke 21:36. Watch ye therefore and pray always, that ye may be accounted worthy to escape all these things that shall come to pass, and to stand before the Son of Man. And that is exactly what those of us of the hopeful elect are doing. We're watching, we're staying circumspect, we're paying attention to all the events that are taking place throughout the world. So then we're praying, always hoping that the Lord accounts us worthy to escape all the death and destruction and chaos and misery that we know He's going to unleash upon this earth in these last days as punishments for the wickedness of these people. So with that, I'm going to wrap it up here. In closing, I'm going to give all the praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashim, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashim, Rakakudash, the Wadi Yahweh, Ba'ashim, Yahweh Shai, for putting the spirit on me to do this lesson. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Honors to our brothers who are firmly pushing the word in sincerity and in faith, and shalom to all the sincere believers. Hope you all stay strong, stay safe, stay fervent, stay circumspect, stay prayed up. Adawan Ratazah. Until next time, shalom.